Thank you so much, sir. And Mr. Mishra, thanks a lot for setting the context so well. Because now you see the onus that I'm feeling, the weight on the shoulders of ICT, is there are two components that the temple that he drew showed. One is the slab, which is technology cutting across, and the second is also the pillar. So there are at least two components of that, the temple of our expectancy is where we are involved, let's say as technology players. And just to give a view on this, why would you need technology to complement or supplement things that are being done in the infrastructural side? It comes from actually the demand side, and the demand comes from people, which is consumers, society, which is the whole DNA or the fabric of the whole land, and finally it comes from businesses. And I think Mr. Mishra said it so well that there is an expectancy that productivity badhao, let's all be more productive, let's use the same 24 hours to do a little bit more things. That's a common thread that flows out. So that I'm kind of keeping on the side. The key thing also at a societal level is that let my society be safe and let my society be sustainable, which means what I give to my grandchildren, is going to be something that they will also live for the next 100 years. So I think there are two or three more elements that come in along with productivity. And from a business perspective, and you ask me as a business person, I would love to see saying that there are enough revenue generating opportunities where I can drive my top line in a more efficient way, given that I'm in a smart city. So there are these three key stakeholders and there are these three key expectations. If you now look on the supply side, what do we need to make sure that we are supplying these expectancies to these constituencies? I would say that from the ICT perspective and the first pillar that Mr. Mishra so well alluded to, it is probably, as we call it, the trinity. It is broadband, mobility and virtualization. And it is not by coincidence that it is B is for broadband, which is like a Brahma, M is for mobility, which is like the Mahesh, and V is for virtualization, which we normally call cloud, let's say. Yeah, and that's the Vishnu. So there is a trinity sitting out there, which is rooted deeply into our culture. If we provide these three, we are potentially looking at making infrastructural components more smarter. And I do agree that a simplistic view of a smart city will be, simply put, everything is connected, so that everything knows what is happening with everything else in the whole connected society, and therefore everybody makes it smarter. But going down and drilling down now further, saying that we need to give these three sufficiencies. There is role of the government because they need to give spectrum. There is role of the municipality because they need to give right of way. If without an optic fiber, there is no smart city in the world that can function. And to lay that optic fiber, we need the involvement of the municipalities. So that's all on the supply side. On the supply side, there is also skilled manpower that you need. You may just about create a complete Frankenstein if you have all the infrastructure, which is lighted up very well, which has great networking elements, but you do not have people to use it. So all these things will be multiplied by 0. And to take, physical examples of this, and we come from, meaning my company comes from Scandinavia, which is pretty much on the leading edge of smart cities, and we live it over there. There is one city that we formed near the city of Stockholm in Sweden. And the simple objective that they took in 2006, I think when they set up the whole infrastructure or were in the process, that this particular part of Stockholm needs to be carbon neutral, full stop. There is nothing. It can have 20,000 vehicles, it can have 7,000 factories, but still it needs to be carbon neutral. And I can tell you that they are very near to achieving that, given that they have spent the last 8 or 9 years in making this whole thing happen. It's called the Royal Port of Stockholm, and they managed it in 3 verticals. And I will just end this with specific examples here. The biggest contributor to sustainability in a smart city is transport. Yeah, and we classically do not associate that with ICT. That's the vertical from where I come. But the biggest beneficiary in terms of society or a vertical is transport, because the way in which you can intelligently make your transport happen in a city, and a great example of, I'm a Mumbaiite, so it's very close to my heart when sir said about 1.5 hours from Malad to Churchgate and 2 hours from Churchgate to Malad in the evening, let's say. If you can make that sustainable and intelligent, it adds the biggest quotient to the whole smart city thing. The second portion is utilities. And again, like the transport conundrum, which is, north to south in the morning and south to north in the evening in Mumbai, there is also the utilization of utility. So when the working population of Mumbai, and especially when it is double income, no kids kind of, people who are traveling from Kandivali going to Bandra, they would switch on the washing machine, before they leave to catch the 8-8 local from Goregaon, let's say. They would switch it on with a program saying that when the rate of electricity drops to 8 rupees per kilowatt hour, at that time only switch on the machine. Yeah, this is all possible. This is what is done for managing peak loads in utility. It is the same in oil. It is the same in electricity. It is exactly the same in water. And all these physical infrastructures can be well coordinated if you make that golden line of intelligence over there, which possibly can be provided by ICT. I'm not saying ICT is the end of the world. That's the second example. One example standing out to me, and I think we've not spoken about it in this forum, is about waste management. And Mr. Martin, who introduced, also said that a smart city needs to smell smart, which meaning I cannot underline this with a bigger punctuation. If you go to the waste management facility in proper Stockholm, you would not even believe that you are in a dumping ground. It is such a beautiful place, meaning I can probably even host a party there. It is so clean, it is so nicely done. In fact, Sweden is a country, and I speak for Sweden because we come from there, it imports waste because they convert it into fuel. And that is one big problem that all cities in the world are going to face. And the popular statistic is that by 2030, 2% of the land mass of the planet is going to house 60% of its population. It is Sarva Dharma Samabhav. It is across all regions, all countries, everywhere. And that is the problem of urbanization. If you can make waste management technologically, enabled by collecting your waste in a particular way, I think it will lead a lot into making a smart city smarter. And the final portion, with your permission, sir, is on the public safety side. Meaning 26th July 2011 is when the whole kind of flood happened in Mumbai. And it happened because the meteorological department did not have enough amount of advanced signal saying that there is a river in Dahisar, which is on the north tip of Mumbai, which is going to overflow because the rain has reached certain amount of millimeterage. If there was a technological way in which we could find it out with an advanced warning system, there could be a potential that we could have at least mitigated, if not avoided, a natural calamity. So public safety in terms of, natural calamities, and public safety in general, which is the women benevolent population or the child protection population, is something that we have seen the power of GPS, we have seen the power of smartphones, we have seen the power of good policies that we can make in making all this smarter. So in summary, a smart city is not just ICT, as much that I would love to say that. I think it is a confluence of all these multi-stakeholder models. It is a good blend of infrastructure combined with intelligence provided by ICT, and for delivering certain social objectives. I'm sure we can link this back with the SDGs in a nice little way, and I would say that would be my definition of smart city, sir.